Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mary and today's video is going to be the end of the year book tag. So I believe this book tag was started by Ariel Bissett a long time ago. I don't know when, but I think that's who started it. So if I'm wrong, let me know. I briefly looked at these questions. This is not a very long tag, but I'm just gonna go through a few of these questions and answer them for you. So the first question is, are there any books that you have started this year that you still need to finish? And my answer to this is yes, I think for the first time ever. So normally I'm pretty good about like either DNFing something or like finishing what I start, but I've got several books this year that are soft DNFs, which basically means that like I do plan on finishing them. I just either lost my hold of the library or lost interest in the book, or one of them I misplaced the physical copy that I own, but I think I know where it is, but I'm not 100% sure. So those books are A Girl Like That by Tanaz Bhathina, which I believe I know I have the physical copy. I think it's in one of my backpacks. So I've got to get that and actually finish that. I made it to 42%. It's about a girl who lives in Saudi Arabia. And it's primarily about her, but it's also about the boy that she was with at the time. They both have died in this car accident. And so it's looking at their families and their family histories and sort of how everyone reacts to this accident that they were in. Sorry if you can hear my dog running around. He's being really annoying. I also have South to America by Amani Perry, which is a nonfiction book. So I might try to finish this in Nonfiction November, which is like an annual readathon. I believe it's hosted on Goodreads actually, but I try to participate in it every year. There's always a couple of prompts, and then you can also just read whatever you want. That's nonfiction. That's like the goal of it, is to get more people to read more nonfiction books. South to America is like a state-by-state look at the southern United States and the history there and how it affects primarily like race relations, but also socioeconomics of those, the socioeconomic class of the majority of people in those states, and like the interactions of all of that with history, basically. And that was an interesting book, but it was taking me forever to read, and I kept losing my audio or my ebook of it, and I didn't have an audiobook at the time. I might check to see if there is one now. Also, when I was reading this, other people had it on hold, so I was losing it for like weeks or months in between reading it. But I do want to finish that one. I believe it was nominated for a Goodreads Choice Award last year. So there's that. And then I honestly thought there were more like books that I had not continued reading. I thought there were more on this list. The only other one that I really have is The English Patient, which I started reading last month, and it's only on here because I'm doing Becca's Spookoplathon during the month of October, and I haven't had a reason to put it on my TBR. It is set in the immediate aftermath of World War II, I believe, at a villa outside of Florence in Italy. And the villa during the war was turned into a like hospital, and there was one patient who is referred to as the English patient, and he was he suffered some extreme burns. I think he was a pilot and he was in a plane crash is what I'm assuming happened to him. And we also follow the woman who was taking care of him, who is a Canadian citizen who went to the war in Italy to be a nurse, and she's nursing this guy back to health. And then another guy comes who she has met. I think she met him back in Canada. Like, I think he was friends with her dad who died in the war. And I don't really know what their relationship is going to be. I don't really know what her relationship with the English patient is. I'm interested in reading all of it, and I'll probably watch the movie when I finish it, because that's how I'm feeling. By the way, if you want to see the progress that I'm making with Spookoplathon, I posted the first vlog last week, and I will link that for you so you can watch it. And then the next vlog will be posted probably at the beginning of November, and I'm doing these vlogs in lieu of a wrap-up for my reading in October. The next question is, do you have an autumnal book to transition into the end of the year? I guess my answer is no. I don't, really. I'm, like I mentioned, participating in Spookoplathon. I've also read a couple of other horror books just because I'm like in the mood. I don't have any books in mind that I'm going to transition to the rest of the year with, or to the end of the year, but I do have a couple books that I want to read, but I think that's a question later on. So, no. And this next question is there a new release you're still waiting for? I have not been keeping track of new releases for the latter half of this year as much as I feel like I should have been. I know that there's a book, let me try to figure out what it's called. It's called Everything I Learned in a Chinese Restaurant by Curtis Chin, which is a memoir, and it's by Curtis Chin, obviously, It comes out came out, excuse me, on October 16th. I do want to read this. I don't remember where I heard about this, but it sounds really interesting and it almost gives me Crying in H Mart vibes. So it says, this memoir tells the story of Curtis Chin's time growing up as a gay Chinese American kid in 1980s Detroit. 1980s Detroit was a volatile place to live, but above the fray stood a safe Chung's Cantonese cuisine, where anyone from the city's first black mayor to the local drag queens, from a big-time Hollywood star to elderly Jewish couples, could sit down for a warm, home-cooked meal. So I like the idea that it's all revolved around this one restaurant. I also like memoirs in general, and I really like a memoir or essay collection that revolves around a theme. So I think that this would be a really interesting one, and I do really want to read it. Again, I've never heard of Curtis Chin before this, but I saw it on some list. It honestly might have been on the AAPI, like books coming out, because Goodreads will do those like listicles. Regardless, I do want to read that. And I think that's the only new release that's really on my radar right now. And then what are 3 books you need to read before the end of the year? I didn't realize this question asked for 3. I can only think of 1. I want to read Babel before the end of the year, okay? This is one of my like most anticipated books from last year. I bought it like in January, I think. There's no reason I haven't read this yet, except for that I'm nervous that I won't love this book the way that a lot of people do because of certain things that I've heard about this book and things that I know that I don't like in books. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to clarify. One of the most negative things I've heard about Babel is that it's kind of heavy-handed in the like message the author wants you to take from it. So I'm a little nervous about that because I really don't like being spoon-fed things in books. I like things that are a little bit, not necessarily even up to interpretation, but just like not explicitly told to you. Like I like reading a book and not knowing everything about that author's like political views and things like that. And I know that there's a bias in everything that's written, but I really prefer things to be as like either not unbiased as they can be or as varied in the biases that different characters have so that the reader can really look at an issue from all sides. So I've heard that this book is a little heavy-handed and that makes me a little nervous. I guess since I have to come up with 3, another one I will say that I want to read is the 3rd book in the Stormlight Archives series. I don't know if I'll get to it, but I've been trying to read this series. I originally was reading all of the Cosmere, which is Brandon Sanderson's like greater universe that all of his works are sort of set within. I tried to read one a month and I was doing really, really well until like last year. And then I just picked up a Cosmere book earlier this month for the first time since I was doing that. So I think July of 2022 was the last time I'd done it, July or August to October of 2023, over a year. So if I had been keeping up, I would have finished reading everything that's out in the Cosmere in like May or June of this year. So I'm a little peeved that I didn't keep up with it, but I do want to get to at least the 3rd book, if not the 3rd and 4th, because I think it's up to book 5 that's out. And I really enjoyed, I read Edge Dancer this month, which is book 2.5, and I liked it. I like the audiobooks of these books. I can follow them on audio, and I just really need to get them read. That's how I feel about that. The other thing that I'm going to say that I want to read before the end of the year is Gleanings by Neil Shusterman. So that is a short story collection set in the world of Scythe. I am rereading the Scythe series right now. I read it originally 2 years ago, and so I'm currently rereading that. I'm on the 2nd book. I'm about halfway through. I am enjoying my reread. I'll have more updates in the vlog that I'm filming for my Spookopothon stuff. But yeah, that's the other thing I want to read before the end of the year, because the reason I'm rereading Scythe is because this short story collection came out, I want to say again, last year. And I just was reminded of how much I like Scythe and I wanted to reread it, and so I could read all of this. The only other thing that I'm going to say here, I don't think I'm going to get to this, which is why it's not officially on my TBR, but I just found out like this week that they're making they have made, a Songbirds and Snakes movie, which is the prequel to the Hunger Games about President Snow. I didn't know that they were making, I think I heard that they were making it a movie, but I didn't realize that like it comes out in like 3 weeks. So I had always intended on reading the book before I watched the film. I don't know if I'm going to do that now. I don't know, because I'm like not super interested in reading the book, but I also am because there's a movie now. Like if the movie never came out, I probably would never have looked at it. But now that I know the movie is coming out, I'm like really curious about it. So let me know if you've read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and if you think it's worth the read or if you think it's skippable. I feel like everyone said it was kind of skippable originally, but I don't know. So does that need to be on my end of the year TBR? Because if it does, like I would like to see the movie in theaters. So I need to get on that if I'm gonna do that. The next question is there a book that you think could still shock you and become your favorite? Yes, but I don't have anything in mind. Like my standout books from this year are How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu, I think is that person's name, and Tomorrow, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin, which I think Tomorrow, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow is gonna be my favorite book of the year just because it's the one that sticks out to me the most. There might be others. This has been a very mediocre reading year for me though. So if I find a book that I absolutely love, there's a pretty good chance that I could make it into my top favorites of the year because not very many books feel like they're going there. Okay, and then the last question is, have you already started making plans for 2023? And I think it means like reading plans. And I mean, no is my answer. A little bit, but not really. My plans are that I would like to get back on a schedule with doing TBRs. I'm thinking I've got a couple things in mind, like in my noggin that I would like to do for next year, but none of them are like hard and fast plans. I've been sort of going no plans, just vibes for the last couple of months, and it's worked out okay for me. I will say I usually do like to have more of a solid plan than I have had, but you know, you can't always have a plan for everything, and I'm totally understanding of that with myself, or I'm trying to be. So yeah, I don't really have any firm plans, but I do plan on making plans. I have plans to make plans, but I have not made plans yet. I hope that makes sense. Okay, and that's it. So those are I think it's like 5 questions, pretty easy tag. Let me know in the comments down below your answers to this tag. Also tag me in your tag video if you do this tag. I'm not gonna tag anybody, but if you do this, I would like to watch yours. So let me know, either link it down below, let me know you did it, or just tag me in it. And I will watch it. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. You can also subscribe to my channel to see more content from me. I try to post a video every week. I apparently have transitioned to posting on Mondays instead of Sundays now. So I hope that's okay with you because it's just what it is. But I will see you in another video very soon. Bye.